Good morning and welcome to Searching Through Scripture. I'm Father Terry here at St. David's Anglican Church in Welland, Ontario, and I'm thrilled that you could be with me again this week. This week I want to talk about the Gospel of John. And in John's Gospel, there's this incredible story that we read about Jesus on Maundy, Thursday, washing the feet of the disciples. And what's extraordinary about this particular story is that here we see the Son of God, the teacher, the rabbi, the master of these disciples, stooping and actually getting down and pouring water into a basin and washing the feet of his followers, his disciples. Is there a more wonderful act of love than to wash the feet or care for those things that you love most? And in this case, the 12 disciples, which had given up everything to follow Christ. So let us begin in chapter 13, verses 1 through 17. Now, before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the very end. The devil had already put into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with a towel that he had tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" And Jesus answered, "You do not know now what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." And Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." And Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and head." Jesus said to him, "One who is bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." For he knew who was going to betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." After he had washed their feet and put on his robe and had returned to the same table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is who I am. But if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash the feet of one another. For I have set for you an example, that you should do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them." Imagine here again that Jesus Christ stoops down and washes the feet of his disciples. In doing so, he gives for them and for us as followers of Christ a wonderful example, an example of how we are to be guided by our love for others, the love that we see expressed in the generous heart and loving nature of Jesus Christ. And I want to ask you, in these particularly difficult and anxious times, do you find it harder now than ever before to express your love for humanity and for others the way that Jesus has? Are there things now that didn't exist prior to this pandemic that get in the way of us having relationships with others in which we care and reach out to them? I wonder if the idea of wearing masks that hide our expressions and our love for others, I wonder if our wearing of masks makes it even more difficult to show our true love and caring for others. Do we feel more isolated? Do we feel disconnected from others? Do we have a difficult time expressing our love and care for those who need us most? And I wonder, as I listen to commercials and advertisements about, how there are those who are struggling with food sources, those who are struggling with housing, with addictions. I wonder if they too feel a disconnect from those of us, particularly religious institutions that may have gone out and provided help for others during this very difficult time. I'd like you to search your hearts, to look deep within yourselves and ask yourselves honestly, during this past 6 or 7 or 8 months, have I stepped back? Has the fear of the pandemic, the fear of reaching out to others, enabled me to isolate myself away from those who I love and care for, those who need God's presence and love the most? One of the interesting things that I read in this particular chapter of John is that knowing what he did, knowing that he was about to be betrayed, knowing that he was going to his own death, Jesus loved his own till the very end, fully, completely, and he demonstrates that in true humility by washing the feet of his disciples, something that a master, a teacher, a Lord would never have done. And so when we witness the questioning of Peter who says, "What are you doing? It is I who should be washing your feet," we recognize in that moment the magnitude of what is taking place. That Christ, this example of God to all of humanity, feels it necessary to stoop down and offer up an example of God's love for his children and all of humanity. I can't imagine a more powerful example of how, in the face of his own death, Jesus Christ, instead of internalizing and dealing with his own feelings, turns his heart outward towards his disciples to give them a lesson, to show them what it means to truly love and care for someone. So this week, I would like you to think about that. I would like you to think about ways in which, during this pandemic, you have reached out and cared for others. Have you, behind your mask, been able to express the love and compassion of Jesus to the world around you? I look forward to your comments. I look forward to your posts. And please join us each and every week as we examine the wonderful words and stories found in the Holy Bible and how we examine the lessons that Jesus Christ offers to each and every one of us. May God bless you, keep you safe, and I hope to see you again next week.